Okay, everybody, it is 6 o'clock, so if you can please take your seats, we are going to go ahead and get started. So good evening and welcome to the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce 2022 Candidate Forum. First and foremost, I want to thank all of the candidates who are able to attend this forum or the forum this evening, along with any of the other attendees from our community and the public who found the time in their day to participate in person tonight or virtually by Zoom. We will be recording this event and posting it on the Chamber's website at www.fairfield-suisun-chamber.com so you or someone who may not have been able to attend can rewatch tonight's event at your leisure. Last night's forum has been posted and is available to view now on the Chamber's website. Tonight we'll be interviewing the following seats, if present: Mayor Harry T. Price, Catherine Cat Moy, Chauncey Banks, Councilmember District 1, Kay Patrice Williams, Nora Dizon, George Kennedy, Councilmember District 3, Doug Carr, David Verza, and then Councilmember District 5, Doris Panduro, Scott Mulvey, and Jeremy Farrell. Now, to get this event moving forward, I'd like to cordially invite or welcome our moderator this evening, Susan Lebrecq. Welcome, Susan. The stage is now yours.
Thank you, Jared. Good evening, candidates. Thank you for being part of the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce Candidate Forum. I will be moderating this evening's forum. Before we review the rules to the candidate forum, I would like to preface this evening's forum by ensuring you that the members of the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee, referred to as PAC, will do their due diligence to make an informed recommendation to the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce Executive Board as to what candidates the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce should endorse based on who the PAC believes would be the candidate or candidates that would serve in the best interest of the members of the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce. Now I will explain the process and the rules to tonight's forum. This evening we're going to start off the forum with the Fairfield Mayor candidates and followed by the City Council member candidates. I will now read the forum rules for the Mayor candidates. Candidates will be given 2 minutes each for opening remarks. Candidates will be given 6 questions. Each candidate will be asked the same question, but not in the same order. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. Candidates will have 2 minutes for closing statements. Order of candidates was selected through a random process and will be asked in the order in which you are seated, starting with the candidate to my left. If the candidate is not present, they will not be asked questions. So it will be Mr. Banks, Mr. Price, and Ms. Moy. Time limits on responses will be strictly observed. The moderator, that's me, will have the responsibility for enforcing time limits. The moderator also has the authority to interrupt the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format. The moderator may restate the question, but cannot ask a follow-up question. The candidates will not interrupt one another. Candidates should refrain from personal attacks or charges. Answers should remain focused on relevant topics. The candidate's closing statement should be significantly related to the matters discussed previously. The audience will be asked to refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or non-support for a candidate. Does each candidate agree with these ground rules?
Yes. Yes.
We will now begin. So, Mr. Banks, you will have 2 minutes for opening statements.
Thank you. Thank you, Fairfield Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me in the crowd. I see the eyes, love the smiles. My name is Chauncey Banks. I'm from Fairfield, California. My father was stationed at Travis Air Force Base. I'm 56 years old. Growing up here in Fairfield was and still is a great experience of understanding the circumference of our circle here in Fairfield. And what I consider the circle, I call it the Tri-City. That's Fairfield, Suisun, and Vacaville, just growing up around people of understanding who we are in our little circle. One situation that I have got myself into was opening my own business in a Fairfield Mall. Back then it was called Westfield. I reopened my business after 25 years. It was closed 20 years, and I reopened my business in Westfield Mall. And so I do sell apparel, clothing, and other little small sorts of items. I would like to say on a statement of growing up in Fairfield, my church that I attend is Mount Calvary Baptist Church. I was there with Senior Reverend Claiborne Lee, and I'm now with Claiborne Lee Jr. Excuse my stuttering, waking this up. And so for myself and for this city, I see a bigger vision. I see a vision to continue it. I see a vision to expand it with the Fairfield Forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Price, you now have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Fairfield needs an experienced, proven leader to tackle the challenges we all face. As your mayor, I have built a successful track record improving streets and roads. Improving streets and roads. I have helped to develop the Safe Routes to School program, improve public safety, transportation for seniors, and continue to support both our police and fire departments. I have assured the city has a balanced budget, fully funding stable and professional police and fire departments. I will continue to work with our community partners to protect Travis Air Force Base and support our residents who serve our country. Fairfield has a bright future in light of our challenges. I have brought the council together to tackle public safety and homelessness. I've worked so that Solano County cities and county are now officially partnering, finally, to solve homelessness with real solutions, cooperation, and the ability to leverage outside funding. Join my fellow council members, veterans, seniors, teachers, community leaders, and working families who endorse me. There is much to be done, and it takes leadership and cooperation. Working together, we can continue to make Fairfield a better place for future generations, and I am committed to continuing to serve, recognizing that that's dependent upon folks voting for the right candidate, and I would assert that my qualifications far exceed anybody else. When I was first elected mayor in 2005, I was honored to be selected among 18 of us who were invited to go to Harvard University for a leadership training program. That was 1 full week, an amazing experience. And at the time, we were talking about opening a Walmart on North Texas Street. And I said to the president of Harvard University, if you were in my shoes, how would you approach Walmart to get them to do, thank you very much.
Ms. Moore, you now have, please refrain from applauding, please. Thank you. Ms. Moore, now you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you here and see you at home. It's great to see the chambers full of people who are interested in what's going on in our great city. I'm Catherine Perez Moy. My friends call me Cat, so please call me Cat. I am running for mayor after spending 14 years as a city councilwoman, leading and talking to you every single day. Every day, I take about 20 inquiries. People see me all over the internet because I use that kind of communication so we can reach young people, people who are at home permanently, and I have a great following out there, and I have a great love for everybody in here and in the city. I'm running because we need a fresh agenda. We need energy, and I am well qualified. As I just said, I've spent a lot of time now, since 2008. I was appointed in 2009. I ran for the first time and won, and I've won every time since then. So it's time for a fresh look. It's time for us to put away the old agenda because it's not working anymore. What do I mean by that? What I mean is our streets are dirty. What I mean is that we have crime that's increased. And what I mean is homelessness is out of control. I have a lot of things to talk to you about, and we will do that later, but homelessness is one that I can handle because I did it professionally. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. No, please refrain from applauding. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know it's really hard. All right, we're going to get right into the questions now. And again, 2 minutes per response for questions. And Mr. Banks, you ready for your first question?
Yes.
What makes you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of Fairfield?
Uniquely qualified for me to be the mayor of Fairfield. The beautiful thing about that question is that the people chose me from the city of Fairfield. People chose me from the city of Vacaville that lived in Fairfield. People chose me from the city of Suisun for the city of Fairfield to be the mayor. What's unique about being the mayor of Fairfield is that I pretty much shake a lot of hands. I shake a lot of youth's hands. I shake a lot of senior citizen hands and diversity families. I'm the type of person that will be at the third party table, but also in the neighborhood. I'm always in the neighborhood. I'm seeking out different visions for the city of Fairfield. The business also at Fairfield Mall is pretty much my biggest study about the economic development, what's going on in there. And the situation was going on there is no retail. And what I'm looking at is just a downfall from the circumference of that mall. I see that if we could bring in more retail business, pop-up shops, and clear up the whole circumference of the mall, meaning some of the buildings that I see is like one of them that I see that I believe is Planned Parenthood. I think it needs to be in a private place. I think it needs to be somewhere out where there's some other land at, and we could build the city around the mall with high-end apartments, restaurants. I see different things from entertainment for the kids. Just build up the mall. That is the biggest economic development. We build up the mall with the retail. We could take care of some of the homeless situation for the taxes. Other things I see with the situation is the kids, the youth. We need to guide the youth. And so I'm real big on that type of experience, being around the kids and the family that I surround myself with. But as the mayor of Fairfield, I will be right by your side.
Thank you. Mr. Price, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions will you be able to implement to address this crisis?
That's an excellent question because it's on all of our minds. And anybody who is not aware of the homeless issue in the United States really isn't paying much attention. And I want you to know that I appointed Doris Panduro and the Vice Mayor, Rick Vaccaro, to the 2x2 committee. That committee, now working with the other other cities, as well as Solano County, are on the right track to provide us with a solution that will stand the test of time. And I am particularly pleased that the county, the cities are coming together for the first time in a joint venture to provide the adequate services that are absolutely necessary for those who choose or sometimes are just cast out and no place to go. Crime is the other big problem, and that problem is going to continue. And I think the city of Fairfield was very fortunate when the city council, at the city manager's urgings, said, we need to hire someone as our new police chief who can make a big difference. And I think all of you are aware that Chief Cantrell has done an absolutely magnificent job. She's compassionate, she's concerned, and she is diligent. She pays very careful attention to the needs of the city. And my hope is that the city will continue to make progress. Public safety is a big issue. Public safety and crime are affecting all of our cities in this part of California. Reasonable solutions can be developed if we work together cooperatively and share those expenses and that academic background that makes such a big difference. I'm an Army veteran, and many of the homeless are also veterans who need all the help that they can get. And some cities have done a really good job. Dixon, for example, much smaller than the city of Fairfield, is making a significant change in the attitudes that people have. Same thing is happening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Moy, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Well, there are a lot of things, unfortunately. Some of them are national, such as inflation. We don't have a lot of control over that. What the small business people hear in Fairfield tell me is that they have a difficult time because of the vagrancy, because of having to get up early and come to work to clean off human feces from their doorstep. And I know I talked to a surgeon that this has happened every day he'd have to come. I know another small business person whose windows get broken in regularly. And then I've helped a lot with some folks downtown as well. I recently met with a group of downtown merchants at City Hall with our city manager, and we talked about some of their issues. They are assaulted in their stores by, we call them homeless. I don't think that's a good name. I mean, there are really root problems there. As I said, I work professionally in reducing homelessness, and I did that. Some of the other things that the small business have to deal with are, of course, the crime, the theft, which is out of control. We have to stand up, the mayor has to stand up and say, not in my town. It is not happening here. You're not welcome here if you want to commit crimes and hurt people. Get out, okay? And we also, to help those businesses, we're going to hire more cops. I've never defunded a cop, never would. My colleague has. We aren't going to do that. So we're going to help businesses. Help is on the way.
Mr. Banks?
Yes.
With the inflation rate, hold on real quick.
Okay.
Yep, all right. With the inflation rate being the highest in 40 years at 8.3%, what will you be able to do to lessen the burden of the increasing cost of doing business for small business owners?
I believe in pop-up shops. Pop-up shop brings a lot of independent businesses to perform in other people's businesses. Meaning, like, if you have a business and we open up, like, say, downtown Fairfield, you can invite other business in there. What it does, it collaborates the marketing online. It collaborates the foot traffic. It helps pay off some of the promotion and help with the rent. Pop-up shops will help recognize new business here in Fairfield in the circumference of our area. The business is really available. We see them here at the Tomato Festival. We see them here at several festivals. We see them travel from other cities to here. And so with collaborating with other business and then also marketing on social media off their online store, the stores become what they call a flagship store. And so if you can use certain these tools, you can actually accomplish foot traffic from your own business. And then please let everybody know to go to the mall because the real estate is good. It's very empty. They're showing love in the mall. I've been seeing different vendors events. I've been seeing big vendors event in some of the closed areas in the mall. So we could start continuing with using the mall for the surface of the businesses and to talk to the managers and people up there to see what you could do. We're trying to do a little car show at the mall too. So business is really my background of things. I don't see it any problems with people vandalizing business. I see more support with business. I see more culture businesses. I see more cooking events. I see more, anything could be business when you put your mind to it. So I say let's get together, let's all collaborate, and let's put some pop-up shops downtown Fairfield, invite other business and help them promote your business. Thank you very much.
Mr. Price, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce if you were to be reelected?
If I were reelected, I certainly would continue working cooperatively with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce. You folks make all the difference in the world, and you're one of the primary reasons that so many companies, so many industries are choosing to locate in Fairfield. It isn't just because of Interstate 80 and the gateway to the Pacific. It's also because you are very much invested in all the folks who participate in the city of Fairfield. I think the Chamber of Commerce is really an adjunct to the City Council. And sometimes we provide the leads and you follow up and make certain that folks are hired, folks are able to negotiate property so they can operate a business. Inflation is going to be a major hurdle for many of us, and particularly the consumer. The Chamber of Commerce is well skilled, very adept at being able to put the right people in the right place at the best cost. And employment is a major, major concern. And with all the industries choosing to locate in Fairfield, it's amazing. If you take a look over in Vacaville is the biotech industry. You take a close look at what's happening in Fairfield. Well, Travis Air Force Base is one of those key elements because of all the services that need to be provided. The Chamber of Commerce is very actively involved in the Honorary Commanders Program. And I would love to ask those of you who are honorary commanders at Travis to raise a hand, please. These are the folks who are making certain that we preserve Travis, and as an economic engine, there's nothing that comes close to it. Anything that is a threat to the continued viability of Travis Air Force Base is going to affect not only us locally, but also our national defense. So beware. We've got to make certain that the Chamber of Commerce continues to exert its wonderful potential to encourage people to
Time,
come here.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Moy, which member of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
I align mostly with Pam Bertani, and probably Doris, although I haven't been around Doris as much. That's not just because we're women, it's because we have good thoughts. We talk with each other when we can. Doris and I work together on some subcommittees. Pam and I have also in the past. We've helped each other through some very difficult times over the years. I've helped Pam get reelected, and I've helped Doris with some things that happened on the dais, which was unfortunate. So I would say that I align with them, but I also like to think that I'm an independent thinker. I do not mind, even though we vote about, I would say 96% of the time together, we all do. I do not mind, as I've seen my female cohorts, if you will, colleagues, stand by alone. There are certain things that you know, because you've been here your whole life, that you must stand. And one of those things was giving city services to a development in Middle Green Valley. I'm all about protecting the valley, Suisun Valley, Middle Green Valley. I stood alone on that. So I don't align with anybody who wants to go ahead and help a developer come in and put 400 or 500 homes inside Middle Green Valley. It's no good, and it won't happen in Suisun Valley under my watch either. So there are times when you have to stand up. That's one of them. Another time was defunding police and fire protection. I warned that we were going to have fires, 4 houses burned down. I warned that the crime would increase. That's okay to stand by yourself about those things. And looking back, we know it's true. I
Time,
was
thank
right.
you. Mr. Banks, what do you think is the biggest threat for facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
The biggest threat, read that for me again, please.
Yes. What do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Biggest threat is, again, economic development. It's for the businesses and the support of businesses that's leaving the city of Fairfield. It's really just depreciating other business to even start up from their own kit. Pretty much no foot traffic, no concepts, no ideas, bringing things off of a social media page into storefronts. A lot of things are pushing from that point of view. A lot of things is pushing from Amazon into the city. And so when it comes about businesses, it could be from a restaurant. They're cooking online right now. They're going door to door selling plates. Business is still going, but it's just not, it's pretty much not out there in the public eyes. I think we need to build up the heart of Fairfield, downtown Fairfield City. I believe if we could extend downtown Fairfield a little bit further out or through the width of it and open up our city, we could have other things and family safe, family oriented type of events there to bring in different things that I seen back in the days, like cruising. I think the cars are so, it's art. It's a lot of art, and they bring a lot of people. I went to Jelly Belly. I went to Saturday, and it was mediocre. But then when I went Sunday, they had the cars there, and that brought a lot of business from the town. It brought a lot of visitors from the town. So there's different things that we could do to enhance the city. It's really, I don't think anything is damaging from, if we got, I know people will say the homeless and stuff like that. If you clean them up and fix them up, they're looking for a job too. I go to JJ Fish and Fry and I see homeless there, and they sweep the floors and they feed them and all that. So we can enhance the ones that's just really from Fairfield, because they love Fairfield too, and those are the ones I see out there in the streets helping out other businesses. Ask them their name.
Time, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Price, with the inflation rate being the highest in 40 years at 8.3%, what will you be able to do to lessen the burden of the increasing cost of doing business for small business owners?
I think there are lots of federal programs that are going to be available to us now, and we can certainly take advantage of those. The state is certainly going to have to get involved as well. Local governments can help by reducing fees and by making certain that all the conditions for successful enterprise are in place. And that means taking care of making certain that our streets are clean, that we have services available for those who desperately need those services, and that the city will perhaps be able to continue to take a good hard look at economic development and realize that perhaps some of the fees that they have to pay should be reduced over the long term. And I'm a firm believer in mom and pop shops, and I think one of the characteristics of a nice downtown like Walnut Creek is merchants who know how to promote themselves at the same time by taking advantage of facade improvements. And downtown Fairfield is really going to benefit when that program continues to grow and excel. Downtown Fairfield is going to become, and this is the long-range vision, so keep in mind, on the first floor there will be professional offices and businesses, and then condos and apartments above, making that a desirable place to live because of the access to public transportation. Public transportation is very key. If you take a look at all the folks who came here from around the United States last weekend for the annual 11 Kids Gala, you would understand if you talk to those four-star generals why they want to do the same thing in San Antonio that we are doing here, where children can have role models who are going to help them. And it's a wonderful program, works very, very well. And I'm so pleased that the comments from the four-star generals, there were 3 of them, the comments are, Fairfield is a very desirable place to live. And when they were talking about troops stationed at Travis.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to speak close to the mic. We're actually Zooming this, so we have a lot of individuals that are watching from home. So just be mindful of that, please. Thank you. All right, Ms. Moy, we have a homeless crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions will you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Well, I am the only candidate here for mayor who has worked professionally, and I mean hands-on, and reduced homelessness in Fairfield. Now, it's a much bigger problem than just Fairfield. We have about 250 homeless people in Fairfield. Those are the chronic homeless people, the people that you see going to the bathroom in public, breaking in, stealing stuff from your car to get drugs. Most chronic homeless people, they either have mental illness and or they have drug problems. They're addicted. And like about 97% of the people who came into the shelter that I ran self-identified as being mentally ill. So we need to look at the root problems of it. You cannot buy a home or give an apartment, put them in there and say, we're giving them wraparound services now. What does that mean? You cannot just see somebody for half an hour a day and take care of them any more than you could put a cancer patient in a house and expect them to be better. That's not what we do. We need to go after the problems themselves. So how do we do that? We are opening up a 60-bed facility here in Fairfield. The council's voted for this, and this is a rehab thing. We also, the county is going to soon be cutting ribbon on their new mental hospital. Those are going to be great tools for us because that's what we have to do. We have to attack the core problem. And once we start doing that, we're going to make way. The other thing is we can't tolerate living on the streets. We can't. It's inhumane. And also, it's dangerous for our citizens. It's dangerous. We have people getting hurt all the time from that.
Time, thank you. Mr. Banks, which members of the Fairfield governing body would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
Recently, I got a beautiful heart for Mayor Harry Price. We was at Paradise Valley Estate, and the two of us, we pretty much matched very good, answered the questions. He was very fun. Like he's doing now, he keeps me smiling. I love his energy. With that, from a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I always seen Harry Price always had a way of just, going to shake his hand and just enjoying his spirit, how he walks and how he talks and how he just wanted, be known that he's there to help everybody. Not only that, there's a lot of people that come to my store and they ask me about Mayor Harry Price, whether they live in his neighborhood, whether they were students from his school. So you hear a lot of positive things about Harry. You could talk to Harry. Harry will, just like I said a week ago, he was telling me about some program where you could get on the plane and fly. So that was pretty interesting to hear from him about that. Another one is Pam Bertini. Pam Bertini is close to me because of our church family. And it's good to see someone that praises the Lord, her and her husband, to what I can relate to, where I grew up at, in that type of environment, to where we don't have to come down to the community. We are in the community. So it's a good thing to see someone that's on this seat that I can see in the church home. And again, another one that comes close to my heart is Doris. Doris' auntie, Margie, was my best friend, my close friend, surrounded by a lot of other friends, and she pushed her niece.
Time, thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Price, what makes you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of Fairfield?
Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, sir. What makes you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of Fairfield?
Oh, I think I've been blessed in so many ways. And becoming an elected official is certainly one of those. And when we first moved here from Pennsylvania in 1965, we lived just around the corner on Utah Street. And where the Civic Center pond is out here, my 2-year-old son and I would go walking through those buildings. They were old World War II barracks. And he was having a little difficulty because the floors were warping. And the city manager, B. Gil Wilson, one day came down out of his office and he said, "Tell me about yourself." Long story short, next thing I know, I was being asked to serve on the Cultural Arts Awards Committee. And following the Cultural Arts Awards Committee, of course, was the Planning Commission. And it was during the Planning Commission meeting that I decided that my talents, whatever they may be, would best serve the city of Fairfield if I ran for the city council. And I did that, and I was unopposed. And I have thoroughly enjoyed serving as your mayor and would love to continue to serve. I'm a servant at heart, and I really believe that if you can relate to the people you serve, you report to, their lives are going to be very much enriched. And I thoroughly enjoy having an opportunity to go over to the elementary schools and talk to third graders. And I'll just share this quick story with you. Each time I did that, the second and third graders, I talked about civics. And one little boy, I'll never forget, he raised his hand, he said, "Do you live in the White House?" Well, the upshot of all of that is students from other schools come here. And next month, I'll be dealing with a whole series of students who are going to be coming into these facilities. And I thoroughly enjoy that because you get to plant the seed that says, just as it did with Chuck Tim, public service is really worth doing. It may not pay well, but the gratitude that you have is so significant. And my son and daughter said, "Dad, do you
Time,
really?"
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Moy, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce if you were to be elected mayor?
Well, we both have the same constituency. As I mentioned earlier, I spend a lot of time helping and working with businesses. Small businesses are obviously the backbone of our community. It's where a lot of our taxes come in from, and from shops, from the mall to Anheuser-Busch. It goes on and on. And I have a good relationship with so many small businesses. So because we have the same constituency, what we do to make the chamber stronger is to make the businesses stronger, and also to work to bring in great businesses that we need that can also, offer really well-paying jobs. We don't have a lot of jobs right now that people can work at in Fairfield and buy a house here, for instance. It's the housing here is out of control, like it is throughout California, and that's not something that's going to be solved here in Fairfield, California. However, we do a good job of working with builders to get lower income housing, and housing that's, quote, affordable. But what's affordable in the Bay Area? It isn't. My daughter, who grew up here, can't afford to buy a house, and she works full-time. And so those are the things. You have to be open to the businesses. I'm always open for a call, anytime, from anybody from the chamber or from you all. I'm always open. I always return calls, and I always return emails and texts and anything on social media.
Time, thank you. Mr. Banks, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions will you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Great question. The homeless in Fairfield, like the way I see it, is I don't record myself. I'm out there. I do talk to the homeless. I do feed them. I give them blankets. Some of them are picky, very picky, because of the colors, whether it's red or black, Raiders or 49ers. And so I do ask them questions. I never pretty much say that I have a concept or idea for them. I ask them what they need and what need to be done. It's almost like asking someone to pray for you, or don't pray for you, or they pray for you and then they say, I pray for your elbow, but your knee hurt. And so I go out there and I ask the homeless what would they like, what would they need to be done for we can help. Some of them will say, speak on their own home. And if you listen to them, they got friends, they got families within the circumference of the area. They have members of churches, and one thing, and I'm gonna jump to this part because this is what stutters my tongue, is that a lot of people say they choose to be out there, and I don't believe that. I believe, one part of it, they don't choose to be hot or cold. It's just uncomfortable to be out there, so I don't believe they choose to be out there. I believe it's half and half. I believe they just want to be left alone. But to open up some doors, I don't study just the local cities. I study Chicago, Cleveland, Los Angeles, and they speak on these tiny homes. And I try to impact what they're doing out there because it's heavier than what we're going through right now. And so I listen to some of them, and they talk about different things of extending the city, having these different camps. But at the same time, I see these big buildings over there by Jelly Belly. And I think some of those empty buildings, we could put some beds and commercial kitchens up in there and run it from there. Thank you.
Time, thank you. Mr. Price, which members of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from a political and policy perspective?
Oh, I think Councilman Scott Tonneson, certainly. Vice Mayor Vaccaro, very definitely. Chuck Tim, former student. Doris Panduro, just wonderful people. And they are good public servants, and we work together very, very well. And that's very gratifying for a mayor. For a mayor to be able to do the kinds of things that need to be done, you have to have some support, not just from city staff, but from your colleagues. And Pam Bertani, Councilwoman Pam Bertani, what she has done in bringing Christianity into our regular events here in the city of Fairfield. It's amazing how she covers the whole city, including chaplains at Travis Air Force Base. And it's remarkable how much better the relationship is between the city and the active duty folks. And I really respect all the churches that opened their doors to our service members, and in very realistic and loving ways. I participate in a number of activities. One of them is scouting. And the Boy Scouts of America, I'm doing Eagle Courts of Honor every opportunity I get. And to have those scouts say, I want to commit my life to public service is really very, very reassuring. It's a wonderful feeling, and as a teacher, you always count your blessings, because all you have to do is look at them and you realize that what a difference they're going to make in this world. The problems we can't solve today, they will. And I think that being a mayor who can inspire people to give of themselves makes all the difference in the world. There are no strangers in my world. And Chauncey, thank you, my friend.
Thank you. I call you uncle, so thank you. You're uncle right there.
So,
Time, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ms. Moy, with the inflation rate being the highest in 40 years at 8.3%, what will you be able to do to lessen the burden of the increasing cost of doing business for small business owners?
Well, I know one thing about business people. They don't like handouts from the government. They're independent people. I grew up with small business in my life. My mom was one of the earliest downtown women business owners. She ran a bookkeeping business, and my husband, all my in-laws, my brothers, everybody were small business people. But what can we do? We do have to keep an eye open on what is coming down the line from the feds. I got a letter yesterday from Harvard University, and I've won a scholarship there. If I win this mayorship, it's a full scholarship to go. And I will go there for 4 days and learn how to do some of the things and to work with other mayors in this country. I will be very active nationally, because some of our big problems like homelessness, we must change the policy from the federal level. We have what's called Housing First. It started under George W. Bush, and it has caused a lot of these problems. Why? Because with Housing First, everybody has a shelter. That should happen. But with Housing First, you cannot demand that they stop using drugs, or that they take their medicine for their mental illness, or that they try to get a job. That has to stop. We're telling people it's okay to be a drug addict. And so that's one of the things that I'll work on federally. And if I have to pay myself, I will, for $5,000, join the National Mayor's Conference.
Mr. Banks, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce if you were to be elected?
Let's go. Let's do it. I see it very thriving. Seeing the Chamber of Commerce downtown Fairfield. I don't know if they still do that. I haven't been downtown Fairfield. I'm inspired by always meeting someone from the Chamber of Commerce. I always go to the office and take some brochures, whether I wiggle in there or wiggle out. What I love about it, the Chamber of Commerce, is that they have a vision, and when you can sit at the table with the Chamber of Commerce and we could all sit together and build the city up, that's going to be a beautiful situation. I know that I have a lot of friends in the Chamber of Commerce also, so we do talk. One thing I do at the mall, Town Center Mall, is that people come to my business. They come to my business, they look at me, they ask me about the mall, they ask me about the contracts, they ask me about other things. And I encourage them to sit there and talk to the mall management. And so within this last year, I bought 5 business to the mall, and they had business up there. We had Queen. I worked with Bank of Hype. Queenish was a women's store coming from Sacramento, all the way from Sacramento to open her business up in Fairfield, and she's from the Fairfield-Vacaville area. Was another gentleman named Mark. He had a little booth. I told him to start off with his booth, and he had the little extension for the hairs. It was real culture people that deal with the hair part of it. Another one was Bank of Hype. Bank of Hype, they have a store in the mall. It's a dead stock with tennis shoes. It's the hardest things to get because the shoes are out of stock, and then they bring a lot of foot traffic in. So the moral of the story is that I let them know how my business is going. I let them know pretty much how that you could build your business up, and I would love to sit with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce and help build more business around our city. Thank you very much.
Time, thank you. Mr. Price, what do you think is the biggest threat facing businesses in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be reelected?
Inflation, inflation, inflation. And that's going to affect all of us. I don't know how we're going to solve that problem, but it certainly is a worldwide issue, and we may be entering that phase in our existence where it becomes more and more important for people to do, as I had to do growing up during the Depression, do with less. And I have fond memories as a small child having my own garden, and I could plant whatever I wanted to, and I planted things that I knew I'd like to eat. I also had pet rabbits and pet chickens, and that was kind of fun too, even though I did not want to eat them. But it was important that we become self-sufficient. So I think self-sufficiency is the key to how we're going to get through all of this. It's going to take a while. It's not something that's going to end very quickly. But I want to share one other quick story with you. When Matt Garcia ran for city council, he came to see me and he said, I don't expect to win this time, but I'll have name recognition, and then next time I'll win. And I said, this is not a horse race. What you really need to do is get involved. And I remember telling him about Mayor Chuck Hammond when he created the Youth Commission. And I said, Matt, one of the best things you can do is go into the high schools and encourage students to apply for the Youth Commission. The Youth Commission, those are our next leaders, and that program is working very, very well. And in fact, some of those students are able to continue serving on the Youth Commission into their first year of college or so. So my point is, in order for us to survive, we all have to come together, and we have to reach common goals and expectations on how we're going to do that. And we will. We'll prevail. Americans are not ones to give up. So, excellent question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Moy, what makes you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of Fairfield?
Well, as I said earlier, I was born and raised here. I know most of the streets in Fairfield. Maybe in some of the new areas, I don't know them as well. I know the people here because every day I'm talking to them. Literally, I've been counting about 20 a day. I communicate with, I answer their questions and get their problems solved. I am the senior member on the city council. I have more elected years than anybody else on the council itself. What else is unique about me? As you can see, I am the only woman running. And being a woman is not in itself something that you should check off and say, I'll do it just because she's a woman or a Hispanic woman, which I am. I'm qualified. I'm a qualified woman. We've only had one woman mayor in all of Fairfield's history, almost 120 years. And as you all know, women and men have different perspectives on things. I tell people all the time I love them, I hug them, and I also can be tough. Like I said, I am not going to sit around and coddle or turn my head when we have criminals crawling around here. It's not going to happen. We have to stand up and we have to define who Fairfield is. We are the home of Travis Air Force Base. We are one of the most powerful cities in the world. We need to act like it. We need to clean it up. We need that new agenda I'm talking about. That's how I'm qualified. I'm qualified to carry it. I'm strong. and I love people.
Time, thank you. Candace will now have 2 minutes for closing statements. Mr. Banks, the floor is yours.
Hello and thank you, everyone, again. My closing statement is so beautiful. My thoughts in my head. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and at the same time, Kat, I applaud you. I really do. I think some things you do and that I see online is very powerful. That I see with the crimes and all that, and I just want to just share that. Okay, I do see the crimes and I do see certain things that happen. My closing statement is very unique. I love the situation about Travis Air Force Base. Travis Air Force Base is, to me, it's where the culture was able to come together because of the base, and to come to live in Fairfield and surround ourselves with different race, color, size, shape, gay, just all happy. It's just a happy situation from that base, how they can bring everybody together. What I'm trying to do for the city of Fairfield is to identify certain situations, from the luxury homes into the luxury neighborhood to the neighborhood. I'm trying to bring the differences together so we can stop doing the same. I want to see the culture. I want to see Cinco de Mayo parades. That's what my homies say. I'm just speaking for the people. I want to see a art center on East Tabor and Claybank at the Tabor Park. I want to get those kids something to do because they can't go all the way down to the Allenwood Park to enjoy some of the things out there. Because to me, all kids have resources. They really do. I mean, from selling sneakers, from selling, trading cars and different things. But if we don't have the right resources for those kids, they will pick up drugs and they pick up guns. And so if we could bring something towards that city of Fairfield, from that Tabor Park issue, because we do got Claybank also over there, and everybody identified that as the jail.
Time, thank you.
All right.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this candidates forum. I think it's important for all of us to realize that we're very fortunate to be living in the city of Fairfield in Solano County. This is a different city than some of the others in the county. It's a different city in large part because of the folks who come in and out of Travis Air Force Base and the industries that look at this as a desirable place to do business. The educational programs in Fairfield are pretty top-notch, and that's really very, very important. And I'm saying that not only because I'm a retired teacher, but I see it every day, and I recognize that the Chamber of Commerce and hosting a candidates forum like this one is allowing us to take a good hard look at who we are, where we are, and why we are here. My kids, I have two, they don't have any college debt. They all have advanced degrees. The grandchildren, same thing. And it's because they went to school in the city of Fairfield, and then they went off to private schools, Air Force Academy and that sort of thing. But what a difference it is when you ask them, what did you like about growing up in Fairfield? And the stories that they have to tell, and the friendships, those friendships go on for years and years. And I thoroughly enjoy having an opportunity to talk to visitors. The electric vehicle program that we're all going to be dealing with now, the electric vehicle program brought two young ladies from the East Coast in an EV, and I thought, wow, this is just great. So Fairfield is on the top. The Chamber of Commerce is making certain that our schools are top-notch. They're making certain that all of our public safety kinds of things need improvement and should get it right now. It's a good place to live, it's a good place to work, and it's a good place for recreation as well. So thank you very much, and again, thank you for the candidate forum.
Thank you. Ms. Moore, you have 2 minutes.
I want to thank everybody again, and especially all of the citizens out there who have overwhelmingly supported me every time I've run, by a lot of votes. And I want to say thank you. If I'm not elected as mayor, I will not be on the city council anymore, but I'll still be here serving you. You can still call me with questions. I know how to get it done. But I hope that you will look around and see that we do need a new, fresh, and bold agenda, that we need to clean up our streets, that we need to get the homeless into shelter and get them off their drugs if they're on them, and get them mental health help. My main priorities are protecting Fairfield, always has been that way, and Travis, of course. Travis is staggering, the amount of money, $3 billion, $4 billion they put into the local economy. And we have so many great people who live around us from Travis, our veterans, about 120,000 within 40 miles of Travis Air Force Base, and a lot of them are right here in Fairfield. One of the things that's important is accountability with government, and I'm all about that too. So we're going to get an audit done one way or another on the homeless stuff that we've spent a lot of money, millions, and I'll continue to protect Suisun Valley. Suisun Valley is precious. I actually grew up there. My family, they were migrant and they were workers out in the fields. And my soul is here, my family's buried here. I'm not going anywhere, and I look forward to leading you as your mayor out of some of the crises we have and to
Time, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
concludes the mayor's candidate forum. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Everybody was very gracious. I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, Susan.
You're so welcome. Maybe we could just take 1 minute to stretch a little bit. And Jared, I'm going to need time, help with the clock. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Yep. I'm like,
She cracks the whip. I'm scared of her. Okay, thank you very much.
yeah. Oh. That's fine. So this is going to go for an hour and 20 minutes. So if you guys need to go to the bathroom, probably, there's a bathroom back here. If we could get everybody to start settling back in, please. Thank you. Can we please have the audience start taking their seats, please? Thank you. Can you help me? All right, can we please have everybody start taking their seats, please?
Hello? Okay, everybody. I know it was just a short break, but we want to get back on track so that we can all get home at a decent hour. So we're going to go ahead and have a seat. So that way we can get started. If we can go ahead and have a seat.
Okay, we're missing one. So here. Can everybody see the stop clock? Not you cannot. Okay, so we'll move it. Okay, as we
As we move down, I'll just...
yeah. It's on the podium, ma'am, so we'll have to move it. Okay, so city council candidates. I will now read the form for the city council candidates. Candidates will be given 1 minute each for opening remarks. Candidates will be asked 5 questions. Candidates will be asked the questions, same questions, but not in the same order. Each candidate would have 90 seconds to respond. Here's the issue that we have. That clock right there in front of you guys, the countdown clock, it doesn't have a 30-second interval. So what's going to happen is I'm going to set it for 2 minutes. So once it gets to 30 seconds, that's when your time is up. Does that make sense? No? Okay, so the clock right in front here, Jerry, can you show her? I'm going to set it for 2 minutes, but we're giving each candidate 90 seconds, okay? So once that timer shows 30 seconds, your time is up. Does everybody understand that? We will move it, we will definitely move it. When you're answering the question, ma'am, you will be able to see the timer, okay? We're just going to have to move it. Okay? All right. All right, so candidates will have 2 minutes for closing statements. Order the candidates will select it through a random process and will be asked in the order in which you are seated, starting with the candidate to my left. If candidates are not present, they will not be asked questions. So Mr. Farrell, I believe, is not here. So next will be Mr. Verza. And please correct me if I mispronounce your name. Ms. Bandura, Ms. Dizon, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Mulvey, Mr. Carr, and Ms. Williams. Awesome. All right. So time limits on responses will be strictly observed. The moderator has a responsibility for enforcing time limits. The moderator also has the authority to interrupt the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format agreed upon by all candidates. The moderator may restate the question but cannot ask a follow-up question. The candidates will not interrupt one another. Candidates should refrain from personal attacks or charges. Answers should remain focused on the relevant topics. The candidate's closing statements should be significantly relevant to the matters discussed previously. The audience will be asked to refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or non-support for a candidate. Does each candidate agree with the ground rules? Thank you. All right, so we will get started with opening statements. Let me set the clock here. Can you see the clock okay, the timer? Okay. So, Mr. Verza, you have 1 minute for opening statements.
All right, hello everyone, I'm David Verza. Need to turn my mic on, can you hear me? Okay, a little bit about me. I'm a local. I grew up here on Phoenix Drive, which, as you know, used to be a really rough neighborhood. I've been here since the 90s when I was a little kid, so I know Fairfield very well. I'm a veteran. I did 8 years in the United States Air Force, mostly at Travis Air Force Base, doing communications, IT work. I'm a father, 10-year-old little girl. So, the reason I'm running is my car got stolen. And I remember looking out at my driveway and, car's not there. And I was just thinking how tired I was. I wasn't even angry. I was just tired. And I'm tired of the crime here. I'm tired of the homeless everywhere. I'm tired of seeing all the small businesses closing up. And I really want to do something about it. So I figured I'd throw my name in the hat and make a difference in my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Banduro, sorry.
Noodle.
Oh.
Hard bread. Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Doris Panduro, and I am running for re-election to represent District 5. I am born and raised here. I'm hoping to continue the work I started 2 years ago, and so I'm running for a full 4-year term. I have been heavily engaged in the community for over a decade. I'm a past president of the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and a current board member. I sit on the Apapa Board, Solano County chapter. I'm a member of Voces Unidas de Solano, and I am a Rotary board member. So I've done a lot in this community. And just yesterday, I was given the notification that I was selected as a Congressman Garamendi's Woman of the Year for 2022. And I share that because that is a testament to the dedication and commitment that I have to this community. And I am just so excited to be here. And thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event this evening. And I do look forward to answering the questions because I think this kind of space is so important for our community to hear from each person running. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dizon?
Good evening. Thank you to the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce for holding this event at this venue, and thank you to the PD for having an officer here to look out for all of us. I'm running because I've been following the city planning department, and we're on this wave where we're just seeming to ignore the needs for infrastructure to support our community. And we are not trying to retain or develop sales tax revenue for our city, which is really important. So I realized that it would take someone who is willing to take a firm stand and stand up for the quality of life of the residents and not just the profits of the developers who are getting their way. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Time, thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you. My name is George Kennedy, and I've lived in the Cordelia Green Valley area for over 30 years. I've been involved in youth sports and working to keep the kids safe for most of that time, having been on the Tri-Valley Little League Board of Directors and president for a lot of that time. I was responsible for getting the Little League fields built along with the Cordelia Community Park. Recently, I was responsible and led the effort with the council to get the new pickleball, tennis, and futsal courts built at Allenwood Park. I am a problem solver. I am not a politician. I will bring an independent and objective voice for our community. I'll work on solving our traffic problems, saving the Suisun Valley, and protecting Travis Air Force Base. Having been chair of the Budget Advisory Committee, I have in-depth knowledge of our budget that's almost $350 million. I am even supported by our former budget director for the city of Fairfield. I have been told by council members that I know our budget better than most of them. I am the most qualified candidate for this seat. Thank you.
Time.
Thank you for the invite.
Mr. Mulvey?
Thank you, Chamber, for inviting me. It's a privilege to be here and address you guys. I am the lead pastor of City Church, located on Tabor Avenue in District 5. Aside from being a pastor and have been a pastor for most of my adult life, believe it or not, I started when I was about 17 in the ministry. I've also been in business as a developer, developed high-density property throughout Central California. I've owned a restaurant, 2 car lots, done custom builds in both Discovery Bay Country Club and the Modesto Del Rio Country Club. So I have business experience. I also know people. We are a church. We're a thriving church. We're heavily invested in the community. I've been here 16 years. We do a lot in the community, a lot with homelessness. We have multiple programs, a live-in program, basically working with the courts, probation, parole. It's a 1-year program.
Time, thank you. Mr. Carr?
Hello, thank you all for being here today. My name's Doug Carr. I decided to run for city council because of my experience and education in solving some of the problems that we have. I'm the youngest out of 5. We came to the city of Fairfield in 1964. My parents lived on the same corner on Utah and Johnson Street for 54 years until their passing. I've ran programs here in Fairfield and surrounding towns for 13 years. I've worked at probation department at the Center for Positive Change, working with the population that everybody's talked about, solving problems and helping out the community. I'm currently working at the Solano County Superior Court as a case manager. I think my qualifications that will bring to the table are networking. I know how to get some things done for the problems that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Thank you. And hi, my name is Kay Patrice Williams. I'm running for District 1, which would represent Cordelia and Green Valley. Like you, I love Fairfield. I've lived in Solano County for 20 years, and for the last 8 years, I've lived in Cordelia. I moved here because I wanted my son, my youngest son, to attend Rodriguez High School, and that's why I moved here. Also, we love the neighborhood, we love the quaintness, and we absolutely love Cordelia. I'm ready to make an immediate impact in the city of Fairfield and on the Fairfield City Council. In me, you will find a champion to keep Fairfield safe. Its budget sounds. You will find a champion in small business owners. I am a small business owner. You will find a champion in smart economic growth, infrastructure, accessible housing, and an innovative plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now start our questions. And just a reminder again, so when that timer shows 30 seconds, your time is up. Got it? Everybody's good with that, okay? All right, Mr. Verza, your first question. We have a homeless crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Well, first of all, we have the Fairfield Homeless Intervention Team, which does good work, but I'd like them to be more proactive. Right now, they seem to be a little reactive. They take calls, right? Somebody's got a call, and then they'll show up. I want them to be out. I want them to be out and about. I want them to be visible, active in helping these people, going to where they are. Another thing I'd like to do is clean it up, get tough on this. There are homeless encampments. There's one by Home Depot under the overpass there. It's huge. I want to get them cleaned up big time. Needles, all the stuff. So that's really it. Just get tough on it. Just get out there, get proactive. We're spending a lot of money. I want to make sure that money is accountable. I don't think necessarily more funding is the answer. I think we could be smarter with our funding. So I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, that's it. I want to get tough. I want to get out there. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
Thank you for the question. So as I mentioned in my intro, I am a past president of a diversity chamber of commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and so I have been working with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber, and I have continued to do so. So I worked with them before and currently now. I promote their events. I'm active with them, even though I'm a member through the city, but I'm also a part of, underneath them sits the North Texas Business Street Association. I have been attending the meetings. I have been engaged with the business owners. I have walked door to door down North Texas corridor meeting those business owners, introducing myself and introducing the North Texas Business Street Association and the Chamber of Commerce. So I plan to continue to do that, continue to be a voice for our local businesses because they are the backbone of this city. If they do not survive and thrive, the city does not survive and thrive. And we need to be able to continue to show them that they are supported. Because I think that is one thing that I've talked to some businesses, specifically in that quarter, that they do feel disconnected to the city. And I think one way is to make sure that I am making that connection. That is if it's in my district, I take it upon myself as my responsibility to be in connection and communication with them to better understand what they need, where their pain points are, and to see how better I can connect them, whether it's the chamber, maybe it's not the chamber, maybe it's Solano SBDC, maybe it's, but I think it all can go through, the partnership with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce. So I think that just continue doing what I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Dizon, which members of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you're most aligned with from both a political and policy perspective?
Is it all right if I say none? Sorry. I have seen so many votes that really should not have gone through. I like and respect them. We have all got differences of opinion, but I really think that we're headed down the wrong road, and I will be a very different voice. I more align with what David Verza said about being tough. Let's clean up the problems with the homeless. That will also help our small business. How can they ever really get thriving if people are afraid to go to their stores? People don't go somewhere to have dinner to be did I already pass the 30?
No, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Okay. If people won't go to a place if they're afraid, to spend their money and to enjoy a meal, you're just going to go somewhere where you feel safe. So That's really a key thing. That's what we need to stress. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
Thank you. Well, first thing I would do is promote and continue to work with them and promote the chamber itself to local businesses, and going out with some of the chamber ambassadors to get more small businesses involved in our community and some of the larger businesses in our community. I would want to go as a city council member. I would encourage the chamber, and we go to events like ICSC, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers, where all these businesses are at. And we go tag team approach, collaborative, and promote our great area, promote Suisun Valley, promote Fairfield and what we can do, and say that we have the second best water in a municipality in this country, and be proud of that, and get food manufacturers to come up here and give living wage paying jobs so people don't have to commute to the Bay Area. They can spend that extra 2 hours a day from commuting and spend it with their families. And the most important thing is listening. We have to be able to listen to the chamber, we have to listen to the members, and we have to listen to the community, because Sacramento and DC does a lot of talking, but they don't do a lot of listening. And as council members, we need to listen more and create a collaborative approach to this government.
Hi, thank you. Mr. Mulvey, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
Having lived in District 5 now for 16 years, District 5 is probably the most problematic district in the city of Fairfield. 90% of the crime happens within our district, and I don't have the exact percentage of homelessness, but I would have to say that it's about 75 to 80% of the homeless actually are homeless within our district. We are heavily involved in the district as boots on the ground. We help clean up District 5 weekly. We do trash pickup weekly. We actually do the trash pickup downtown around the courts, the courthouse, the police department, probation. It's our attempt to not only help the city, but help the small businesses. We focus on small business, shopping areas. We pick up the trash at Tabor, East Tabor, and North Texas. In fact, all of the businesses within those areas support me as a city council candidate. You'll see our signs in their windows. We do the weed eating up and down the gutters of East Tabor in an attempt to take an area of the city that has, I don't want to say been ignored, but is overlooked and is the hub of crime. There are shootings in our district. We hear gunshots every night, and that's not an exaggeration. Not all are fatalities, but a great number end up with people being rushed to the hospital and/or a fatality.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Well, one of the biggest problems is safety. Safety is a big issue. One of the problems is I would continue to support our community police departments, sheriff departments, and so on. My wife and daughter won't go to Target at night because they're scared. It's filthy, it's dirty. I've talked to a lot of the constituents in my area, talked to them about it, and they go to Vacaville to go to Target, to go to Walmart. And that would need to change. Why would any small business want to come here when there's not good people like this picking up trash, but it's not pleasant to look at. No business is going to want to go to a place that doesn't draw business, that isn't pleasant to look at. So I think the beautification of our fine city, when I was a kid, this was just a beautiful place. We do have to maybe put some hedges in front of the windows, so to speak, and brighten it up a little bit and make it more attractive to businesses to come in.
Thank you.
But safety is number one. Thank you.
You still have 30 seconds. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I thought that was it. The other thing I would like to do with the city would be to set up a type of security system to where people could go around and actually, like they said, feet on the ground, check in on make sure that the place is safe. We could easily fund more police activity.
Time, thank you. Ms. Williams, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
One of the biggest threats facing Fairfield small businesses is, quite honestly, our addiction to Amazon. I feel like we need to lift our Fairfield businesses. We need to shop Fairfield each and every time. When we support small businesses grow. Small businesses are able to hire staff at living wages, good wages, and it refuels the economy. It builds the tax base. It's good for Fairfield on so many levels. So lifting Fairfield businesses, that is the way to go. Also, another thing that is facing Fairfield businesses, I'm a small business owner of what we call a serial small business owner. I own multiple businesses. And what we need to do is make sure that our businesses thrive through the pandemic, but through the recession. And a lot of that deals with capacity building and making sure that small businesses know how to manage and staffing growth, payroll growth, financial growth. As we make more revenue, how do we manage that revenue to grow even further?
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Verza, which member of the Fairfield governing body would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
Kat Moy and all of her stances. I mean, she's just on it. I think we share a lot of the same tough stances. We need a big change in Fairfield. I really think that this is a time of almost crisis for us. I haven't talked to anybody that would disagree yet. Things are not looking good for us. This seems to be a city in decline, and we really need some radical change here. And Kat, a lot of the solutions that she has, a lot of the things that she's seen are things that I've seen and I agree with. So another one would be Ms. Bertani. My faith is a big part of who I am, and I like to bring that to the table as well. And what she's done with, the Clergy Action Network is phenomenal. And I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to see that thrive, and I think that's about it.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Thank you. I think there's several, but probably one of the biggest ones is going to be inflation. And the second is going to be employee retention and loss. I know when I was just talking to a restaurant owner, and he has just been open in District 5 for a couple of, probably before the pandemic. And I'm in there often, and his looking for help wanted has never come down. So he has been constantly looking for employees to help staff his restaurant. So I think that's definitely a big issue, a big threat when our own businesses cannot find employees to help run their businesses. It burns them out because he has to be there every day, as he should as an owner, but he has to be there more constantly because he does not have the employees that he needs. And I think in addressing it, I think it's more talking with him about it, understanding where he stands, and seeing how if I can be of help. I'm connected with several chambers, so is it having him send me information on what he's looking for, so then I can help circulate and help him find employees? Is it getting him more foot traffic so he does have more revenue coming in? What does that look like? How can I help and be of service there? So I think there's different avenues and ways that we can assist our small businesses to retain and help them attract employees. And then I know, yes, District 5 has a lot of, like what I like to say, there's a lot of opportunity in District 5. And a lot of our restaurants and our businesses in District 5, they are very proud of their business.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dizon, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
I have been following the city for years now, been trying to use their avenues to modify decisions, etc., and finding that you just can't get people to listen to you. They'll give you the time to talk, but then that's it. They just go back to whatever it is they had pre-planned. So I understand what the issues are, and I cannot be fooled. It's very hard to fool me. So that's what makes me uniquely qualified. Also, I am nonpartisan. We've got a political system that has been marred by partisanship. Democrats against Republicans, I'm sorry. That's just a useless thing. Please, let's work together. I'm nonpartisan. I look at facts. I look at what is it that can help our city. And that is the way we need to look at things. We need to look at what will help, like I say, our residents and our city, not just the people who know how to pull the strings in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Well, the biggest threat that the city of Fairfield faces, believe it or not, is Sacramento and Washington, D.C. They're weakening our laws on crime. They're not helping us in that regard. They have a do as I say, not as I do attitude, as we've seen in the last 2 years. And when the times get tough, what does Sacramento do? They come back to the city and say, give us some money. And that's why we have to have so many individual taxes where they're targeted so that the state can't come and take money because they can't balance their budget and get their act together. Another is apathy of our citizens. And we have to be proud of where we live, and we have to stand up and we have to fight. And when I say we have to fight, we have to support our local businesses by not fighting back. I'm on the marketing committee for San Francisco International Airport. And one of the things we're proud of is this week, San Francisco International Airport was considered the second best large airport in this country. And you don't give up. You fight and you go and you go after the Amazons of the world. I remember when Sears was the number one retailer in the country, and then it was Kmart, and then it was Walmart. Now it's Amazon. If you sell a bunch of garbage, people will quit going there. And if Amazon doesn't take care of the products they sell that you can't touch, they will have that same answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mulvey, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions will you be able to implement to address this crisis?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, I can. We have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solution will you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Well, that's a really good question. That's the heartbeat that I have. It's the elephant in the room. The pit count for 2019 shows that there was 1,151 homeless when the pit count was taken. They don't have the results for the 2021 yet. But there are 5 basically housing components, us City Church being one of them, for the city of Fairfield. And combined total bed space that we have combined is roughly about 250 beds. If you do the simple math, it's 901 homeless that will still be unhoused. So it's kind of the elephant in the room. In fact, it's getting worse. We see it because we're involved in that community. We're becoming much like San Francisco. We are chasing the problem to the point now where we can't catch up. In fact, my estimate is within a number of years, just a small number of years, we will be like the city of San Francisco. People currently do not shop in Fairfield, as you mentioned, and I'm fully aware of that. I shop here because I shop in District 5 because I'm committed there. But people don't shop here. So it's the elephant that keeps growing that we keep saying we're going to do something about, but we actually don't. So my proposal is to open a facility.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
Like I said earlier, it's beautification of our city. One of the things we have to do is solve the problem that everybody's been talking about. I have ran programs in Fairfield for a long time and have some solutions to these problems. The first thing that we got to think about is not addressing it as a problem and start addressing the people. I mean, when you treat the person, you get far better results than treating the problems. I think a lot of the problems have to do with the houseless people with drug addiction, homelessness, and so on. We can bring in more businesses if we're a finer city, if we look better, if there's more services. I want to put up these one-stop hubs to where people can come in and get the assessment that they need, their personal needs met, drug treatment, basic needs, food, clothing. A lot of these things will do better for the Chamber of Commerce as well. It'll brighten up our city, make it safer, make it a nicer place for people to want to stay, shop, and live. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
You will find me as your small business champion. I will work with you closely. But when I first thought of the Fairfield City Chambers, I remember going across to your building across the street, and as a NorCal PTAT advisor, that is procurement technical assistance, I did training right there in your offices. So that is one of the pathways to small business growth. It is government procurement. It is getting grants. It is growing small businesses and community-based businesses like mine. So you will find me as a trainer, as an advocate, as your mouthpiece in how to grow small businesses here in Fairfield. Also, my company just helped launch an iHub in Bakersfield. I took that opportunity because I wanted to learn from it and see how we could do it here. It's innovative small businesses approach. It's talking to our small businesses and seeing what they need. It's going to be unique to Fairfield. It's unique to every city. And we need to do that here. I want to work with you on that regard. I will be at the table with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we are starting round 3 of questions. Mr. Verza, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
First off is my military service. A lot of times in the military, you got a mission and you got to do it. And sometimes you don't have the tools. Sometimes you don't have the people. And you still have to do it. So from that experience, I've learned to be tenacious and get the job done. So I feel like I bring that to the table. Another thing that I bring is, honestly, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a politician or whatever. I'm just a normal guy. I got a day job. I drive a Kia. I got a daughter. I go through every day what you all go through. My experience is not unique by any means, so I feel like I would accurately represent the citizens of Fairfield. I mean, talk about the cost of housing. I know it's ridiculous. You talk about the cost of daycare or crime or whatever it is. Like, I'm there with you. Like, I know what you go through. I'm here. I'm tired of it too. So yeah, like I said, I think that's a plus. I'm just a normal guy trying to make my way in, and I really feel for you all, and I want to represent you, and I think I can. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Thank you for the question. So I know many of you have read, and the mayor mentioned the 2x2 committee. And so I myself have been sitting on that committee for probably the last year. I, along with every representative from almost every city in the county. And we just had our very first formal meeting as Capsolano GPA, which will now be taken over by a member and an alternative from every city, including the county. This is the first time this has happened. We have always worked in silos, and that's not working. Do we want to get tough? Absolutely. But we need to work together so that we can be a voice, one voice, when it comes to asking for funding from the federal and state government, when it comes to finding solutions that actually work. Because right now, yes, there's an issue. We see it every single day. I hear about it all the time. I see it every day. But coming together collaboratively, I think, is one of the only ways we're going to be able to find a solution, to find innovative ways to address this issue, the mental health crisis, the housing crisis. You know, our neighbors, Vallejo, are hurting. We're hurting. But then it's great because we have cities like Benicia and Dixon also partaking in this solution with us. So that, because it's not just city of Fairfield, it's statewide, but we're working together. And I'm really excited about that opportunity to continue that work on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Suisun, we have a homeless crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Well, I want to applaud the changes that have been happening as far as the city and working with the other cities with the 2x2 and Solano County. That's really a huge thing. So as for me personally, there is one thing that I've been doing, not consistently. I have not been running a program or anything like that. But when I can and when it makes sense, I've tried to hire people. And sometimes they are homeless people. You only find out later after you've worked with them for a while. And what I found is that a key thing that would help is to try to prevent homelessness. And what do I mean by that? Well, what happens is that these people find work and then they go back home. And home is just full of problems. Home actually destroys the habits that you need to have in order to constantly show up at work. You've got people who are wasting their time, then showing up at work too tired because they were helping somebody. I mean, it's simple things like that, but stuff like that. And if we can help prevent homelessness, that'd be a key thing.
Time, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, which member of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from both a political and a policy perspective?
That's pretty easy, actually. I'm the opposite of others up here. I don't have a problem working with any of them. If you look recently with the pickleball courts that we did at Allen Witt, I work closely with Councilman Tonneson and Chuck Tim, Kat Moy, Pam Bertani, and that sailed through on a 7-0 vote. And not only was it a 7-0 vote to get that done, but it was also spending almost $400,000, and it was done in under 9 months. When does government work that quick? It doesn't. But we rallied around, we created this, and we created the second largest pickleball facility in Northern California by working together collaboratively. And that's my job, and that's my goal, is to work with each and every one of them. Do I disagree with them? I disagree with every single one of them at times. But that's what makes me independent and objective. And going together and working together to create something great for the city, that's what we need to do, is work together and not be afraid of that.
Thank you. Mr. Mulvey, which members of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
I've worked closely in the past with Pam Bertani. I have a great deal of respect for her. I like the way she makes decisions, and much like myself, I believe less talk, more walk. When you see what needs to be done, stop talking about it, pull the trigger, get it done, let's move. And then as well as Mayor Price. Respect both of them. I think I work well with the other city council. I just don't have relationships built with them as I do with both Mayor Price and Pam Bertani.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
Well, I think it's my experience in education. I've been a licensed counselor in Fairfield for over 20 years. I went from intern to executive director running programs here on a lot of the population that we've talked about that needs the help. That's what made me decide to run, is the fact that I have some of the solutions to these problems. I've been doing it here for many years. When I was working at probation, we had the Center for Positive Change, to where the clients would come in to one-stop shop. They'd get the basic needs, the assessments, the substance abuse counseling, cognitive COG groups, and we would see to their needs, and we had a very good success with that. We reduced the recidivism by like 41%. I think that while we were sitting around doing that, we came up with the ideas that this would work for our community, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. That and the safety, like I said earlier. I want people to shop here. I want people not to be afraid to go to Target or go to the mall. My wife works in Vacaville, and they were having a meeting, and they approached her and said, "Oh, we don't go to the mall, they're too scared. Vacaville people won't come here to shop." We need to change that. Those are the two issues that I'm very passionate about, and will make a difference in the city that I love and the city that I've lived in my whole life. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
I love that question because I do feel like I'm very uniquely qualified. My concerns in the community surrounding small business support and accessible housing and addressing homelessness and economic development and smart economic growth. Not only is there a need, is that where Fairfield is, but I have practical experience in it. I have a degree in marketing. I have a degree in law. I have a law degree. And what I've been able to do in the community is see needs in the community and make a difference, make an impact, put a program around. And not only do I do that, but the beautiful thing is I get to call people and they get on board. What can we do together? And examples of that, looking at the time, the census, we all rallied together. I'm looking around this room, the 2020 census. When I got on board, we were at 67% with the goal of 75. And I was like, that's not right, that's not okay. We're gonna leave millions of dollars on the table. And I'm looking around this room, and magically, many of the community members here and organizations all joined together, and we closed the census at 99.7%. That is not me. That is all
Thank
of
you.
us. Thank you.
Mr. Verza, what do you think is the biggest threat facing businesses in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Crime, obviously. People are scared to shop. Small business owners are scared. I mean, I've walked downtown. So many shop owners they're upset and they're losing business, and they tell me as much. North Texas, I walk North Texas, they say the same thing. It's crime and homeless. Broken windows, theft, it's out of control. Even Travis and Oliver, I don't know if you've seen the Burger King, got all its windows smashed in. It's out of control. And what I'd like to do, obviously, is get more resources to our police department and more patrols, honestly. Just get them out there in the streets. I'd like to be more proactive rather than reactive. I know I said that before, but, I don't want people to have to call. I want the resources already there in the streets. Walking the neighborhoods, being out there, letting these criminals know that we're there and we're watching them and we're going to be tough on them from now on. And if we need to hire more people, let's hire more people. But that's what I would do. That's the threats that I feel are facing small businesses. And honestly, they've told me as much. They're tired of it. People don't shop here because it's terrible. And we can do better. We can do better.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, what members of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
So I'm going to pick one because to keep working with everybody until the end of the year or more. But I would say, all joking aside, I think all my colleagues have, they really do care about this city. Whether I agree with them or not, they have a lot of the best interest at heart. But I think the one person that I would say that I most align with would be Vice Mayor Vaccaro, for the reason being that we both are at the dais for the very similar reasons, and that is because we were both inspired by Matt Garcia. He was appointed to his seat, and his story and his life inspired me to run, and this is why I'm here today. And I think aside from that, we have very similar values and very similar interactions within the community. We sit on similar boards. And so when it comes time to, and he's been a great mentor. Even before I was on the dais, I have known him for a long time. I went to Holy Spirit with his kids. And so we both have been in this city a long time, you know, him in the education center, me in the community affairs sector. And so I have seen him here, and now being at the dais with him, it's been a good partnership that I have with him. And so I do look to him for mentorship, and but out of everybody, I think, and that's probably the one that I would say I'm most aligned with. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dizon, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
I need to reacquaint myself with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce. I did participate years ago, and you're very different now. And I think that supporting decisions that help business is actually the best way to support you, because right now, even no matter what I did to help you with your programs or whatnot, you heard, everybody knows here, you got crime, people don't want to shop here. That is just not a good formula for incubating or attracting more business. And that's what you need. You need us to set the policies that changes the atmosphere so that people are happy to go to the local businesses, so that people stay here in Fairfield and we retain the sales tax revenue. We need that, because one day this policy of just expanding and building, it's not going to work. We're going to run out of land one day. We need to have a balanced system. And a lot of that has to do with retaining sales tax dollars here to support the
Time, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
Great question. Thank you. I'm excited to answer that one because I've been involved with Fairfield for so long. I am the former chair for Citizens for a Safer Fairfield. I was chairman of the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Task Force for Fire and Paramedic Services. I was chairman of the Budget Advisory Committee for the city of Fairfield recently, and I was advising the council on expenditures, revenues, and financial policies. And we tore apart a $300-some-odd million budget and made great recommendations to the city, including adding to the Homeless Services Department, adding more police officers, and other things along those lines. I'm vice president of the Solano County Fair Association. As I stated earlier, I led the charge to get the Little League fields built in Cordelia Tri-Valley when we didn't have any Little League fields. And I also led the charge to get Cordelia Community Park built. So I'm a very proud resident and very proud to be seen as a leader in the community, to the point that when the Budget Advisory Committee, not the Budget Advisory, excuse me, when the police announced they were going to bring the investigations unit down to Cordelia, I received a call from Fox 40 News out of Sacramento to get the input of our neighborhood and what our thoughts were on bringing that down there. So I'm seen as a leader in the community, and I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mulvey, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
Well, having owned a small business and a larger business, not in this county, but in Contra Costa County, I'm familiar with what the smaller business and mid-sized to large business, what they go through to attract customers. And I think our chamber, our chamber is great. I think what we do as far as businesses downtown is good intentions. I think we're missing the mark, quite honestly. We can promote business. We can try to attract new business owners to come in until the cows come home. As a prior business owner, as owning a restaurant, I've searched high and low here in the downtown area in an attempt to open a restaurant to copy a successful model that we had in the past. But I've come to the point where I just won't do it. I won't do it, not until we clean up the town. I won't do it because it's a bad investment. You can pour money into a company, you can advertise the daylights out of it, but if you got people sleeping in the doorway and peeing on your door and what have you, you're not going to attract customers. It's just not going to happen. District 5, we have businesses closing. Downtown, I'm familiar with businesses that are closing and or close to closing. This is going to be a ghost town. And we can talk about it. We can promote different agencies, and we can talk it to
Time,
death.
thank you. Mr. Carr, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address the crisis?
Like I mentioned in the past, just a little bit ago, is that I would like to develop the model that we used at the probation department, the Center for Positive Change, these hubs to get the people what they need. They can come in and they'll get an assessment, their needs for mental health. We'd have a therapist. We'd have the COG groups. We'd have basic needs, food, and housing, of course. And all these can be met at these hubs. That's one of the things that I plan on pushing forward. The other thing is that the support of other city councilmen. I know that I'm only one voice. I need 4 voices. I need other people to support these ideas as well. So working closely with them would be very important. And to continue to support our fine people in the county, the people that are already doing the work. There's a lot of work going on, the 2x2, promote these. A lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, they don't know about these community resources that are happening now and the hard work that the current city council is already doing. I think that we could promote those a lot better and expand them. We can also get a lot of federal funding, grant writing. I've been doing this for a long time. I ran a nonprofit program, and when you find money for these situations, you don't have to raise taxes. It's there.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, which member of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with from both a political and policy perspective?
I first met Doris Pandaro when she was the president of one of the local chambers. You know what? Here we go. I met Doris Pandaro when she was the president of one of the local chambers. And I remember calling her in the middle of the night because I was running a program called 48-Hour Smart Startup Business for Youth. And so I called her and I said, I need you to come and help support these young adults. And she called, and she always answers the call since then, and it's been years later. Thank you, Doris. I also align myself with Rick Vaccaro and also Pam Bartani. She's an attorney. I have a law degree, so I hear her analysis on the dais and really, really appreciate it. And also Mayor Harry Price. I see him out in the community, and he lifts people, lifts spirits, lifts small businesses, and I don't know where he gets the energy. So those are who that I most align with. I'll also say one other thing. When we were doing some emergency preparedness work in the community, many of our community members came and lended information and support. And Pam Bertani answered the call, one of the first calls.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Last round of questions. Mr. Verza, how would you work with the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce?
Very closely. I mentioned before, I've walked up and down downtown, North Texas, and my district, my area, just talking to small business owners and just listening. I mean, these people really need to vent. They're very frustrated, and it's good to hear. It's good to hear the solutions, the ideas that they have. In addition to the ones that I have. It's good to hear that. And so obviously the Chamber of Commerce, you'd have, there'd be more voices, there'd be more people, more small business owners with ideas and thoughts and complaints and whatever. And, you know, I feel like a city council member needs to hear those and bring those to the table and address those issues, solve the issues, whatever it is. So, yeah, I just want to work with you guys, be a voice, and listen to the small businesses, as many as I can. So, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, what makes you uniquely qualified to be a council member for the city of Fairfield?
Thank you. First 5 Solano Center, 2 new affordable housing developments, and to the 2x2. These are 3 top things that I have been working on the last 2 years. And as I know I said the first 5 centers, so we are getting a first 5 Solano Center in a new community center that's coming at the corner of Texas and Tabor. So it's really exciting news and really great opportunity for our community. My past leadership experience, the last 2 years, I have worked really hard as a council member to be a voice for District 5 and to represent the entire city at the dais in a fairly and equitable way. Relationships, they are key when trying to get things done for the city, and I have done that. I've built relationships currently as a council member and in my past coming in as a council member. I have relationships not only locally, but also regionally and statewide. When we're talking about state funding and federal funding, it's because I feel like I have the ability to make those connections because I have relationships with our state leaders, our federal leaders, and that is so important and crucial when it comes down to asking for those funding and for applying for those grants. And our city, you know, we are in a great position. Yeah, we have a lot of opportunity. I say opportunity because our city does have a lot of opportunity, and I am here to be the voice to carry what our city dreams and hopes for. Matt gave me that hope and inspiration, and every time I have a hard decision, I look to that picture up there, and I hope that I can continue to make him proud and the rest of the community proud.
Thank you. Ms. Suisun, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield, and how do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Okay, there are 2. The biggest is, I agree, it's crime. We've got too many problems that plague our businesses, and it becomes impossible to operate profitably. And so what I would do, it's going to sound like a broken record, is to help support the policies that it takes to turn around the situation in our city. We need to have people feel safe. We need to be firm with the people who are breaking the laws. We can't just be turning away. We can't just allow this situation to continue. There is just no second to that. It's crime. There is inflation, but if you can't even open the doors and feel safe and your customers don't feel like coming, you don't really have a business. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, we have a homelessness crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address this crisis?
Well, first off, it's a great question. It's a pertinent question. We need to focus on a regional approach to homelessness, and the Budget Advisory Committee that I chaired in our final report over a year and a half ago, we asked that a regional consortium with cities in the county would be created, and it has with the Cap Solano and the 2x2 program. One of the things that's interesting about the homeless is with police officers, it takes about 70 interactions to work with a homeless person to get them to accept help. With a social worker, it takes 11. And presently, we have 4 police officers who are working in the homelessness. And our homeless services division has 4 vacancies, and they've had 5 out of their 7 positions unfilled for over a year. And if we're not going to fill those positions, why don't we give that money to a regional authority, so then what they can do is they can leverage those dollars and create a countywide team on homeless intervention. Let's get the police officers back to policing and stopping crime instead of working with the homelessness when that's what social workers are trained and can do. Set up consistent policies.
Time. Thank you.
Countywide. Thank you.
Mr. Mulvey, what do you think is the biggest threat facing business in Fairfield? How do you plan to address it should you be elected?
Well, we keep talking about it. The biggest threat to businesses in Fairfield is the homeless situation, and it's crime. And I have a plan for the homeless situation. I think that will work. I've been involved in that community for, like I mentioned, 16 years, successfully working with individuals that have graduated our program and have gone on to have successful, meaningful lives. We have the highest rate of success in Northern California. You can ask any agency, probation, parole. They'll tell you we do. That's why they place people with us. I know what works, and I don't say that egotistically. I just know what works, and I know what doesn't work. And I propose a facility on the outskirts of town where homeless people can go to, where they can have showers, they can have dinner, where there is eating facilities. They do basically what we do, provide haircuts. We have our own barbershop, clothing, and then they have a navigation center where they're navigated to employment, where you have mental health is present to deal with mental health issues. We have a free clinic on site, our site. We'd move our free clinic out to a location like that and actually take folks that are wanting out of the lifestyle, there's a high percentage of people want out, they just don't know how to get off the merry-go-round.
Time. Thank you. Mr. Carr, which member of the Fairfield Governing Board would you say you most align with, both from a political and policy perspective?
I would say all of them. I'd like to take a moment to thank them for the work that they do and have been doing. A lot of the hard work that our current city council does sometimes goes unrewarded. You can please all of the people some of the time and some of the people all of the time, and you know the rest. You just can't please everybody. But I think they do a fine job, each and every one of them, from the downtown upgrades that they've done. I walk downtown every day. I have lunch down there. I work down there. I love what they've done. I know that they're trying hard, and these things take time. I think that I align a lot with Ms. Panduro, because I do go and attend the 2x2 homeless meetings that they're having. I've been to the first two that they had for the public. I think that she's doing fabulous work there. I love what Scott's been doing downtown in his district. And I know that I have to align with at least 3 or 4 people to get anything done. And as of right now, I do believe I have the support of most of the current city council, along with the support of the Fairfield Police Department, the Probation Department, the Sheriff Department. They're all endorsing me at this time. But again, just thank you for the work that they do. A lot of people don't know. You don't get paid a lot of money for this job. This is community driven. They're doing this out of love for their city.
Time. Thank you. Ms. Williams, you have the final question tonight.
Oh, okay.
We have a homeless crisis in Fairfield. What unique solutions would you be able to implement to address the crisis?
We do have a homeless crisis in Fairfield, and we do need innovative approaches. And my viewpoint comes from when in law school, I worked at then Mayor Galvin Newsom's Homelessness Connect, and I saw wraparound services work. And I think they took their arms off of it. And I think that's when homelessness really exploded in a terrible way in San Francisco. I don't want to see that for Fairfield. I also see homelessness up close and personal. One of the businesses that I talked about is I founded a transitional home for women with a focus in reunifying women with their children. So up close and personal, I know wraparound services work. We see it work. And it includes mental health. It is mental health help. It includes connecting women to jobs, living wage jobs. It includes doing a career fair to make sure that we're connecting our second chance entry community into jobs so that they can thrive in this community. So I see it up close, and I know that this work can be done in Fairfield. Not only can it be done, and should it be done in Fairfield, these innovative approaches, but there are millions of dollars
Thank you.
in funding. Thank you.
Candidates will now have 2 minutes for closing statements. Mr. Verza, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Crime, homeless, small business, that's what I'm running on. It's on the flyers out there. Feel free to grab one. And I believe in getting tough. I believe just no nonsense. I don't think we need to spend millions of dollars or any more money what we've been spending. I think everything is adequate. I think we need to be smarter about it. I think we need to get tough. Honestly, this is ridiculous. I think we're better than this. I think we're so much better than this as a city, as a people. It's ridiculous, you know, and I've knocked on so many doors and I've seen so much hopelessness and people saying, what are you going to do? What can we do? It's lost, you know. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think it's going to take all of us. I think it's going to take more than the city council, and I'd like to work with all of you, everyone in this city, because all of you've got ideas, you've got experiences, and they need to be heard. But we need somebody on the council that's going to bring that to the table and listen and fight. You know, fight for you all, and knows what you're going through, and I do. You know, I've stepped over homeless people. I've seen needles in these parking lots, and I just, like I said, I think we can do better than this, and I'm going to fight to make sure that happens. And I ask that you'll support me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Panduro, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I didn't get a chance earlier, but I do want to thank maybe I did, but anyways, thank you again, the Chamber, for allowing this candidate forum to happen this evening and for all the questions. Again, I am running to have a full 4-year term, as I've had only the opportunity to run to have 2 years. I want to continue to invest in our youth, work on the homelessness situation, and on housing. And aside from that, you know, North Texas Corridor is a primary focus of mine as well. As I've talked before, it is something that I know there is opportunity there. And I say opportunity because we have to change the narrative of how we talk about a lot of parts of our town. We have a great city, and I believe that, and that's why I'm running, and that's why I've ran a couple of times. But I stand here because this city means a lot to me. It raised me. My family still lives here. My parents still live in my childhood home. I have 2 nephews who attend Fairfield-Suisun Unified School District schools, and so I am invested in this community. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay, and my life purpose is to serve. And it has been an honor to serve this community the last 2 years, and I really look forward to continuing to work in this community. Also, parks. I know that I see some friends here from my district, and so I know parks is a big issue. We have 2 parks in District 5, but they are challenged, and we do need to do more work in them, and I recognize that, and I acknowledge that, and I look forward to being able to bring light to the situations in my district as well. Protecting Travis Air Force Base is another thing we didn't talk about today, but another big issue that needs to be a priority, I think, for our city, that it continues to be at top of head of what we do and how we move our city forward. And yeah, so I'm really excited to be running again, and thank you for the opportunity to share my views and perspective, and I look forward to hopefully having another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dizon, floor is yours.
Thank you all for coming and listening to us. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk with all of you and everybody else, hopefully listening or watching on Zoom. I am the only candidate running for District 1 that will say the hard things. If you've noticed, I will come straight out and say it. I'm not going to play around. And that's what we need in District 1. We need someone who's going to advocate for our community. It's just been run over by people with power, developing our area with just houses. There's no service. We lack infrastructure. That is the key reason to vote for me. I am impartial. I have integrity. I'm not going to say something to you and do something different. That's just not me. I'm very, very frank. And like I said before, I am nonpartisan. I don't play political games. I'm not going to say, you got to do this and that because you're this party or that party. No, let's look at facts. Let's find solutions. That's what we need in District 1. And that is the reason to vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm married for 33 years. I have this amazing blended family with 4 children, 7 3/4 grandchildren. I've got number 8 on the way here in the next 45 days. And 4 of the grandkids live in District 1 as well as 2 of my children. I want to make sure that all of our community voices are heard and that our quality of life issues with regards to traffic, development, and protecting our precious Suisun Valley are addressed. We need to collaborate to bring more retail and job creation to Cordelia Green Valley. I will be able to work with other leaders in our area to improve our community while maintaining an independent voice. We need to ensure that Travis Air Force Base and its mission is paramount to our region. It's a $2 to $3 billion economic engine, which is larger than the budgets of the county and every city in this county. It cannot be compromised. Protecting Travis has to remain our priority with Congress. It's the largest employer in the county, and it's the largest passenger and cargo facilitator in this country for our military. Homelessness is our area's most pressing problem. We need to take a multifaceted approach that I've talked about previously to tackle this growing problem. We need to continue to collaborate with local, county, state officials. I can and I will do that. I'll continue to work for having safer neighborhoods for our family safety. We must be good neighbors, and we have to help our local farmers continue to farm their land as their families have for multiple generations. We must have the responsible development in our district and not have our area carry the burden for the housing in our city. As a longtime resident and community activist, I'm constantly working hard to make Fairfield a healthier city, a city to be proud of, a city that knows how, a city that knows pride for everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Mulvey, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Chamber of Commerce and Debbie Trivy. Thank you. Appreciate being here. As I mentioned, I'm qualified because of my business background, having developed high-density property through the Central Corridor of California, custom home builder for many years, senior vice president of ISU over their international division. So I have an extensive business background. I think business. I know business. I know how to promote business. I know how to grow business. I know it works and I know it doesn't work. As a pastor in District 5 for the past 16 years, I was brought up because the church had failed. It couldn't adapt to the community that was changing for the worse. So I was brought in to sell the property off or make it work. And I chose to make it work rather than sell the property off. So I have a heart for the community. I'm there. I don't have to be there. I'm there because I love the community. I love District 5. I love Fairfield. I know it works. I know it doesn't work. But what I will tell you this without trying to offend anybody, talk, talk, talk. That's all we've done. Talk, talk, talk. We've talked every election. It's talk, talk, talk. But in my purview, nothing gets done except talk about it and talk about it some more. I think we've identified a few solutions here. I know I have solutions, and I'm done talking. Get me elected, and you'll see change while I'm on the city council. I'm not there to be a politician. I'm not there to be liked by everybody. I'm there to get the job done. And with the help of some of the other city council persons, we will see change in Fairfield and the very things that we've been talking about that are the problems that keep businesses from growing, that have people shopping in Vacaville. That will change. If it doesn't change, mark my words, we're headed for a San Francisco.
Time. Thank you. Mr. Carr, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the everybody for staying this late. I know we're all tired. Most of us work today, and I appreciate you hanging out. I also appreciate the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on very much. Thank you for all of that. Real quick, I'm going to just, for the first time tonight, read on my flyer that if you vote for me, I'm going to attract quality businesses and jobs for our hardworking Fairfield families. Create one-stop shop hubs throughout the neighborhoods for that will work, have proven to work, for to provide services for the homeless, promoting drug counseling, mental health advocacy. I am a licensed counselor. I've been doing it for 20 years, like I've said, to facilitate activities that will bolster cities among our community, better communication among our community members, to continue to support our community policing strategies with our fine men and women of the Fairfield Police Department, and to continue to support our Fairfield firefighters with the necessary logistics to provide and prevent our city from wildfires. All these things need to be looked at as well. I'm a Fairfield original, grew up, raised here. My family here, I raised my 2 daughters here. I love Fairfield. I've been here my whole life, and I'll be here for the rest of my life. And I would love to see it be what I envision, and that's a wonderful place for other generations to raise their kids, grandkids, go play at the park. It's a beautiful place to live. I grew up here, like I said, it was a Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry childhood, and I just wish that I could continue that. And that's why I've decided to run. If you vote for me, I'll work diligently to make these things happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So my name is Kay Patrice Williams, and thank you to the Fairfield-Suisun Chamber of Commerce for this candidates forum. I'm so glad there is one. This is an important time for Fairfield. We've come through the pandemic, but I believe we're moving toward recessionary times. We're fighting for both ourselves and for future generations. I believe our health, our homelessness, prosperity, economic development, I think they're all on the ballot. We need a strong leader with unique qualifications, relevant experience for today's challenges and opportunities. I have a law degree. I run a team, and you see my team out here, a team of 12 in my business. I also have a second business, a transitional home, where I manage one house manager. I see she's here, and I want to do great work for the city of Fairfield. I want to take a brief opportunity to thank some of my endorsers. They're not only endorsers, they're collaborators. They're here to fight for us in Fairfield, and they include Congressman John Garamendi, Senator Bill Dodd, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, Supervisor Aaron Hannigan, and a host of others. Also, I want to make sure that I thank other endorsers, including, we talked about fire and police associations have endorsed me. So has the Napa Solano Central Labor Council and Building and Trades, SEIU 1021 and 2015. I have a list of 14, actually. I'm not going to just list them all, but 14 organizations have come in and endorsed me. How does a new candidate get all those endorsements? I am a collaborator.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this ends our candidate forum for tonight. I appreciate everybody's graciousness and great. Thank you.